What is good, everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Paul. I make videos about Japanese society, life, and culture from the viewpoint of a long-term foreign resident. Been in Japan for over 20 years, and today I'm going to do part 2 of my education video, or education in Japan video. Part 1 was last week, but these are separate. It's not like you have to watch them in order, so if you didn't see last week's video, go ahead and watch this one first, and you can go check that one out if you want. In the other one, I talked mostly about what students study, the juken system for getting into high schools and universities in Japan, the juku cram schools that they go to cram extra knowledge into their brains, and a few other things in last week's video. Today I'm mostly going to focus on what goes on in the schools in more detail, including how Japanese schools really push the kind of uniformity and community that Japan is so famous for through the education system itself. I think the most obvious place to start there is with school uniforms. First, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, SakuraCo. SakuraCo is a curated Japanese snack box that's delivered all around the world. I will tell you more about them later, but let's start by talking about the school uniforms. School uniforms typically start in junior high and go through high school. There really aren't any university uniforms. I think there may be a couple of exceptions, but university students don't wear uniforms as the norm, and most elementary schools don't wear them. There are some private elementary schools that do, but if you're going to a public, you're not going to be wearing a uniform until you get to junior high school. Now, obviously, advantages and disadvantages for uniforms are many. Advantages are you don't get any kind of sense of economic disparity, some kids having nicer clothes than others and perhaps being bullied for looking poor or not having fashion sense or something. Everyone's wearing the same uniform. I think that's a great thing. However, there are some dark sides, especially when it comes to female students who ride the train, especially around the major test that everyone has to take to try to get into university at the end of their third year, final year of high school. It's pretty well known that everyone's going to take the test on the same day. They have to wear their uniforms to represent the fact that they are a student and the school that they're coming from. And unfortunately, that is one of the worst days for the train molestation to happen, because unfortunately the school uniform is pretty highly sexualized, and there's perverts out there who do that sort of thing. That's something I feel I have to bring up because I did a essay in one of my classes about school uniforms, and a number of female students were saying that they hated school uniforms for this very reason, because of what I guess happened to them, or maybe happened to people they knew, or both. So advantages, disadvantages, but obviously the uniform does what it says on the tin. It provides uniformity, it provides a sense of community, and it's part of that ethos of the Japanese education system. Other ways that they push this kind of uniformity and community vibe is going around to classes in the States, especially in high school. I would be in different classes with different people depending on what class it was. So I would go off to a math class, and then when I changed to a history class later, I'd be with completely different people. And I would be the one moving from classroom to classroom. In Japan, students have their classroom where they take all of their classes. They will be Sannen Nikumi or Sannen Ikumi, which is third year second class or third year first class. They will do all of their subjects in the same room. Teachers will come to them. Teachers will come to that room. And in junior high schools especially, they will eat lunch together in that room. So the whole thing is fostering this group identity, and they all have their own classroom, and basically they are a community forming in that space. It also applies to the famous cleaning. Social media has covered a lot about, wow, Japanese students really clean their classes and there aren't any janitors or custodians because the students do it all. Isn't that amazing, character building? And well, yeah, I would say that's true. I would say it's generally a good thing. I will say, though, that the schools aren't terrifically clean, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I've talked to my students about this, and they talk about, a lot of the cleaning is kind of socializing time and pushing dust from one corner to the other, and sword fighting with the brooms and that sort of thing. So it's not like they're super dedicated to the cleaning part of it. It's almost kind of it's almost kind of like another break in the academic day, but it's still, I think, a cool team building exercise, so to speak. Other team building things that happen throughout the year, there will be the school festival. Usually that will come in the form of a undokai, sports day, and a bunkasai, a culture day. The undokai is where they've been practicing for a month, maybe a month and a half, all these different crazy sports events, like not team sports like baseball or basketball or something, but team sports like make a human pyramid, and team sports like crazy races that like relay races and things like that have obstacles and that sort of thing. And there's usually some kind of big dance routine that everyone does. One of the most famous ones that almost every Japanese student learns is the sorambushi, which is a dance that originated in Hokkaido. It's a fisherman's dance. When I worked at the junior high school, I learned how to sorambushi. I can still do it actually, because we practiced every year for like a month and a half before the festival, and yeah, I'll never forget those moves. Like and subscribe and comment below if you want to see me do the sorambushi someday. All right. The bunkasai part is usually like students will put on art displays that they put up in their classrooms. They will have like little shops that they'll set up for like a cafe or something for guests who are visiting the school. Obakeyashiki, or haunted house, is a common thing that students will put together. And there will often be performances. I remember watching students of mine in the junior high school up on stage doing performances where they were representing families during World War II who were suffering on the home front, that sort of thing. Basically a number of stage plays, recitations, and of course always the required speeches by the principal and the vice principal and head teachers, and you know how we're all pulling together as a school and we're all coming together as a community. And the undokai, frankly, is, or I should say, used to be a community event in that parents and like extended family, like grandparents, would come to the undokai and watch the sports day. And a big thing was like making a grand bento. Like mothers had to do all this planning and cooking to make all the fried chicken and tamagoyaki and all the, you know, the egg omelet things and all those food items that their child would eat and everyone would eat kind of in a picnic style between the morning and the afternoon activities. And it really is a full day thing. However, Corona pandemic changed a lot of that. It became the case that schools really didn't go back to that model. So undokais, or the sports days, were canceled during Corona, or they were shortened. Or I remember going to the elementary school undokai, they had like the first grade students in the morning and then the second grade students in the afternoon, so they split it up like that so they wouldn't have the big crowds of people. My kid's in junior high school now, and 2 undokais have happened already, and we didn't go to either of them. So the whole family thing going, both a little sad, but also a little bit relieved, because it was just a full day of full on, you know, get out there cheering for your kid through kind of, in my mind, a little bit silly team building sports and exercises, but yeah, it is what it is. The kids, generally speaking, enjoy it, so I don't fault them that. Speaking of uniformity and community, why not join the SakuraCo community? Let's hear from our sponsor for today. SakuraCo's mission is to experience Japan from the comfort of your own home through their beautiful curated snack boxes. What is SakuraCo exactly? Well, SakuraCo is a monthly Japanese artisan snack box that supports local makers across all of Japan. Each box is carefully curated with traditional and seasonal snacks like mochi, dorayaki, manju, and many more. It includes signature Japanese teas and an exclusive homeware item. SakuraCo globally delivers an authentic taste of Japan to your own home. Each box includes a cultural booklet, which is incredibly helpful because it features the snack descriptions, allergen information, and various insights about Japanese culture and the places where these snacks actually come from. This month's theme is Nagano. When I think of Nagano, I think of apples, I think of mountain foraging for mushrooms, and I also think of grapes, and of course the beautiful snow-covered northern Alps. So here's this month's SakuraCo spread. It looks beautiful as always. The variety is always excellent. I'm going to brew some tea, I'm going to choose a couple of things that I'm going to enjoy, and I'm going to tell you why SakuraCo is something that is worth trying, worth giving as a gift as the holidays come closer, and worth giving to yourself as a little bit of a present, right? Be able to experience Japan from your own home. And I personally am really happy when this box shows up every month, and I live in Japan. Okay, I'm going to start by brewing the tea that came in the box this time, which is a melon hojicha. I've never heard of melon hojicha, so we're going to see what this is actually like. I'm going to brew it in one of the tableware items that I received in a previous box, this lovely teacup that I continue to use. And that's one of the things to remember, is that every box comes with its own tableware or houseware item. This month it comes with this lovely plate. This particular plate is known as a Saga Shippo plate. It says it was designed with the traditional Shippo pattern, a repeating geometric motif which symbolizes harmony and endless connection. That smells like melon. This is entirely new to me. I've never had a tea like this before. Okay, let's let that sit for a moment and steep. I've already decided what I'm going to try from this box. Usually I do something salty and sweet, but today, when I think of Nagano, I really think of their local confectionaries that are made with sweet fruits and nuts, so that's what I'm going to go with. I'm actually going to go with this Ringo sandwich cookie and a kurumi cookie. Kurumi is walnut. Apparently walnuts are ground up and added to the dough from which these cookies are made. Okay, as it's in the hot water, it's smelling less like melon and more like tea, so that's interesting. It's got a kind of metamorphosis going on. Okay, thank goodness. The smell of melon is very nice, but I was worried that this would taste like a sweet melon tea. It's really just the kaori, or the aroma that it's giving off. The tea itself tastes like a lovely roasted green tea, which is called hojicha in Japan. Let's dive into the Ringo sandwich. Crunchy, creamy, not too sweet, and the apple flavor comes through. Now for the kurumi or walnut snack. Okay, if you like any kind of nutty confectionery, this is excellent. The kurumi really comes through. And I said that it was a ground up into the dough kind of situation with the walnuts, but actually there are walnut pieces in there as well. I didn't realize that was the case. A curated snack box from SakuraCo really is a beautiful gift for someone that you love or for yourself. It's something that will be delivered to your door every month, and you will be supporting the channel if you use my link below and the code Exjapter at checkout. You will get $5 off your order, and you'll be supporting the work that I do on this channel. I really greatly appreciate SakuraCo for sponsoring this video, and I want to thank you for watching all of the ad. Let's get back to the video. In addition to the uniformity, the way the students sit is very uniform as well. In the junior high school where I taught, they were split into very clear rows, and it was by gender. Girls were all in one row, boys were in the next, and then girls were in the next row, just like split like that. The only mixing that would ever happen, I feel like mostly happened in my class when I divide them into groups, and I would deliberately make sure it was boys and girls together. I take that back. No, I've been to my kids' classes and they get into groups, and it's definitely co-ed when they get into groups. So never mind, I take that back. There are other very kind of strongly pushed gender roles in the schools though. I noticed this right from the start when my kid was in kindergarten. There was a program around the holiday season, and all of the kids were divided into playing these different musical instruments for this musical performance for the parents, and it was divided by gender. Like, all of the girls were playing these 3 instruments and all the boys were playing these other 3 instruments, and there was no mixing. It wasn't like you could choose the instrument you wanted to play. If you were a girl, you had to do the girl instruments, and if you're a boy, you had to do the boy instruments. And it really came to my attention when they had their final day of kindergarten, and all the parents were there dressed up, and the kids were wearing these little flowers on their kindergarten uniform. But they did this thing where they went around a circle and asked each kindergartner what they want to be when they grow up. And it immediately struck me. The boys were like, pilot, soccer player, police officer. The girls were all like, owner of a patisserie bakery, or a nail artist, or hair salon stylist. And I was just thinking, wow, kindergartners, and they're already being shuffled into these kind of stereotyped jobs. I mean, why can't a girl be a pilot or a doctor? And obviously plenty of them are. I teach part-time at a medical university, and actually my classes there now are pretty much half and half, men and women, which I think is good. That has changed a lot over the past couple of decades that I've been here, actually. Another community forming thing that happens in Japanese schools that I shouldn't fail to mention is the kyushoku, or the school lunch. They all eat lunch together in the same room, at least in junior high. I know that high school, I never taught at high school, so I'm not always sure how this works, but I know that some high schools have cafeterias and students are more likely to have their own bento or lunchbox. But in junior high school and very often elementary school, they're going to have kyushoku, which is school lunch. It'll be made at like a kyushoku center, or maybe in the school itself if it's a smaller community. And the students all eat together in the same classroom, and the students are the ones who serve the food. So like when it's your week, you and some other helpers are the ones that ladle out all the food, hand out all the trays, actually go down to the school lunch room where everything's been put together, and you have to wheel up the cart, and they all wear these white kind of smocks and masks and hats, like they're working in a food factory basically, and they come up and they serve the food to their classmates, and then they all eat together. And you don't start eating whenever you get your food. Everyone starts eating together. Everyone says itadakimasu together, and then you start. There's no like off to the races once you get your food. Everyone is meant to begin and pretty much end at the exact same time. So again, fostering that type of community. Uniform rules can be pretty strict. It goes beyond just what you wear. It's to the sock color, how tall the socks can be that you wear. No piercings, no dyeing your hair, no makeup, no modifications of the uniforms. And different schools will be different levels of strictness. For example, when I'm out in Yamanashi, I always think, wow, it's so conservative and very old-fashioned out there, because the students that I see walking on the street, just their uniforms look like they walked out of a period piece from the 1960s or something. Whereas in Yokohama, there's a lot more schools here that allow hair dyeing, in high school at least, not junior high, but at least in high school they allow hair dyeing, and the skirts get really short, and the sock fashion is all over the place, and boys wear like hoodies and modify their uniforms as they will. It's kind of night and day, city and countryside. Countryside still being conservative, city being more relaxed, I guess. Although it, again, depends on the high school. There are definitely high schools in Yokohama area that are very strict, and when you see students from those schools, you're like, oh, okay. You can tell it's a strict school because the uniform looks completely proper. But at the end of the day, it seems like most students that I've interacted with in the university look back at their high school and their junior high school experiences very fondly. They came out of there with very strong friendships, very strong memories. They like the idea of in the future, having their own child do the undokai and do the bunkasai and go through the whole experience that kind of ties the whole community of Japan together, because everyone's school experience is relatively similar. It's a nationalized education system. They're going to have used many of the same textbooks, whether they're in Kyushu or up in Hokkaido. So that shared experience brings a lot of Japanese together in the wider community sense, because the education system and how it works, everyone's been kind of on this, trained on the same page. They've come from the same place or cut from the same educational cloth, as it were. Yes, it differs from countryside to city, especially when it comes to like the pressure of education is much higher in the cities, more competition, etc. But it's something that Japanese can pretty much relate to each other on when it comes to their background. And it's actually something that I would say is a very strong reason why I would never say that I am Japanese, even if I took Japanese citizenship, because the truth of the matter is I didn't go through that system. I didn't go through the kindergarten, elementary, junior high, and high school, or university, undergraduate at least, in the Japanese school system. And I feel like that means I missed a lot of the formative years and the formative things that turn you into a Japanese citizen, a Japanese person of society. So yeah, I could maybe call myself a Japanese citizen in the future if I ever take citizenship, but not having gone through the education system is a big reason why I would never ever claim to be Japanese. So there's that. Some people might argue that, well, your students are satisfied with their education experience because they didn't know anything else, and that's a fair criticism. It's true that you only know what you know. You only know what you've experienced, and if you've never been to a school in the US or Canada or France, yeah, you don't know how it's different. Japan is definitely its own thing. It has its own style and its own way of building its community and building its Japanese populace for the future. Let us know what you think in the comments. Any questions about what I talked about? If you haven't seen part 1, please go check that out. I always value the comments that pop up in my comment section, so please go down there. I have a lot of other long-termers who have lived here as long as I have or longer, who contribute to the conversation, so you can learn a lot from them. Go down and check out the comment section. Like and subscribe if you haven't done it. What are you doing? Even that crow up there says, subscribe, subscribe. So do it now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.